Hi guys, so for this video I wanted to talk a little bit about my life because I've never really opened up about myself here on YouTube to questions such as who I am, where I was brought up, what kind of work I did before doing YouTube, and so on. I don't know why, but I tend to speak more comfortably and honestly when I talk in English, so I'm going to do this completely in English. So let's begin. Yes, I was born here in South Korea and I stayed in Korea till I was 7. My Korean name is Donghun. My family name is Shin, so my full Korean name is Shin Donghun. And my English name is Leo, and my mom named me Leo. I don't know exactly why, but I think it's because it's pretty short and also because I'm a Leo. So I lived in Korea till I was 7 and took my first ever flight when I was 7 to Geneva, Switzerland. I still vividly remember that flight because it took 22 hours and we couldn't go past Russia because there was no Russia. It was USSR back then. So after about a year living in Geneva, I moved to Hong Kong because of my dad's work, and from Hong Kong we moved to Singapore. And from Singapore, I remember I stayed here in Korea for 1 year during 중학교, and then I moved back to Hong Kong, and from Hong Kong I moved back to Singapore. So it was a lot of going back and forth between Hong Kong and Singapore, and I eventually went to school in the States for college, so I lived in the States for 4 years. I never went to a local school, but I went to a Korean school when I was in Hong Kong. And when we first moved to Singapore, I think I was like grade 6 or 7, so about 10 or 11. I first went to an international school. It was a British school. So I graduated from college with a bachelor's degree in philosophy, politics, and law. I know it sounds like really grand and academic, but it's actually not. I don't remember much of what I learned in college, except that I had to read a lot. My parents are still in Singapore, and I have an older brother who works and lives in New York with his family. Yes, I've always been a Korean citizen, and when I was in the Korean army, I was deployed to Iraq, so I lived in Iraq for about 6 months. No, and I never thought I would teach English in my life, especially here on YouTube. So after I graduated from college in the States, I decided to come back to Korea because I really wanted to live here, because I hadn't lived in Korea for most of my childhood. So I came to Korea and I joined a Korean conglomerate at first. I was put in the HR department. I worked there for about 10 months and then I quit because I knew I couldn't do HR for the rest of my life. It took me about a year for my next job. It was a Korean venture capital firm, and basically my job was to read movie scripts, decide on which movies to invest in, and follow up on the investment decisions and communicating with foreign partners and potential investors. But I was only a junior back then. So after about 2 years of working in that investment firm, investing into media content, mostly movies, I decided I wanted to further my studies in filmmaking. So I went to pursue a degree, a master's degree in filmmaking from the States. So I actually applied to most of the top schools in the States. And one day I met 선배 from my college who was working at one of the top 3 Korean institutions teaching English. He asked me if I had saved up enough money for tuition. I told him no, and he said, well, if you teach here for a year, then you can earn more than the 2 years tuition. So I decided to give it a try. I still remember my first class. There were 3 people in my class, and I was so afraid. It's because forever, my biggest fear had been public speaking. I was really not good at it, so I was trembling so much. But as time went on, I got better at doing my lectures, and after about a couple of months, I was really happy. I really enjoyed providing value to my students, and also the students were really focused and they listened to me so well. So one day, a friend from the States came here to visit me, and he asked me what work I did, like what I taught to my students. So I told him exactly what I did, and he said, oh, so you're basically teaching them how to cheat. That answer struck me pretty hard because I was actually doing that. I was rigging the system so that someone who's not good at English could pretend that they were good at English to get a good enough score to apply for the 공채. I wasn't that happy when I thought about what I was doing, and I wanted to try and come up with a system that would really enable Korean students in being able to talk English fluently with native speakers. And I knew that I couldn't do it there, so that's why I quit. So after I quit, I tried to think of a way to reach out to the public or start my own thing, but I was actually too chicken shit to do any of that. So I had a couple of different stints here and there. I joined a global firm for about 3 months, and I worked at a game startup for about a year, and even did stuff like festival planning and club promotion. But I knew in the back of my head that I had to come up with, or at least try to come up with, that system of being able to allow Korean students in speaking English fluently. So I've been focusing on that for the last couple of years. First of all, I love watching YouTube. I've been pretty much watching YouTube religiously since like 2008. I still watch about an hour every single day. It's free, I can have a voice, and I can reach to thousands of people. I think what has helped me the most is probably YouTube. It's because I watch so much English content here on YouTube. And also, I have about 2 or 3 American TV shows that I always try to catch up upon. For today, I saw an episode of Ballers. And also, before I go to sleep, I put on a podcast from A16Z. It's from the VC firm Andreessen Horowitz, and it's great because I can learn about the forefront of what's happening in the tech world, and also because it makes me sleep really fast. And also, when I go on Facebook, half of my feed is in English, and from the pages that I'm subscribed to. And also, I sometimes go to Reddit, and I listen to a lot of foreign songs. I don't think I do it intentionally, but a lot of the stuff that I listen to or watch is in English. I think I'm subscribed to more than 200 channels. I have like different channels that I go to for different content, but some of my favorites are like Fox, Nerdwriter, Casey Neistat, Philip DeFranco, Joe Knows Best, and so on. I also really like food stuff, so I go to Zagat or Eater for that. I'll probably make a video about this one day. No, actually I had a British accent when I was younger because I lived in Hong Kong and Singapore and also went to British school. But a lot of the music that I listened to when I was younger was American rap, so I think I started doing US accent from that. And also because when I went to the States, I didn't want to sound weird, so I picked up on the American accent. Well, I can try. Would you like a cup of tea? I think it's really weird that how you have to put up a notch when you try to speak in British English. So starting next month, I want to teach English offline to a small group of people. So people who really want to learn English so that in the end they can watch English movies without subtitles and have deep conversations with foreigners. So basically for the last couple of years, this has been like the only thing on my mind. Some people say, if you want to master your English to the extent of a native speaker, you have to live there. You have to live overseas, like 살다. But I don't think that's true, because I've seen tons of Korean people in the States that lived there for over 5 years, yet they don't feel comfortable when they speak in English. Like they even have a hard time ordering like a simple meal. On the other hand, I've seen a lot of Korean people here in Korea that have really mastered their English skills to the extent that they're able to joke around with foreigners. I think the difference between the two is that the Korean people in the States, they didn't really indulge into the American culture. Like how they spent most of their time was watching Korean TV shows and only hanging out with Koreans. But the ones in Korea that had mastered their skills in English, they had really engaged themselves in learning English. So not only did they like watch American content and listen to pop, they tried to search for stuff online and basically think in English. I think that's the key. English is not just a language, but you also have to learn about their culture, their perspective, their way of life. So studying English through like a textbook or like TED sessions is only going to get you that far. Well, I can't promise you that like after 3 months or 5 months of listening to me, you'll become fluent in English. However, I'm certain that after you come see me and you listen to what I have to say and we study together the material that I have prepared for you guys, you'll be much more confident in speaking, and it will be much easier to listen to English, like real English from native speakers. I think the best thing about working by yourself is that you can allocate your time however you please. So I only plan to teach about 2 or 3 hours max per day, and I plan to spend the rest of my time doing a lot of research, making a lot of content, and also holding office hours. So office hours is basically me sitting at a desk or a coffee shop somewhere and you coming to see me and I helping you out with the areas of difficulties that you have. So even till this moment, it's only a plan and I don't know how it's going to turn out. But I'm certain that I'm going to start, and I'm thinking of having the first class on this 4th of September. I knew I had to start this, otherwise I would have like regrets forever. So if you're really interested in learning English from me, then please submit the form below that I have linked, and I'll get back to you with the details. And if you can't sign up, don't worry. I'll probably start putting out more content as I start teaching English offline. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and hope to see you in the next video. Bye!